Right, okay, so back in the room. We are going to try something new this week, so help us please with hopefully this will work out. And we're going to be using something called WooClap, which is quite a bit similar, I suppose, to Mentimeter. It's got some additional stuff on it that you can't do with Mentimeter, which is why we've gone with this one this week. Now, what we wanted to try and do, I'm hoping that it will be straightforward, is that you'll see on your phone or on your iPad or whatever it is that you're using to do this, you will see that there is probably a little block, which is, if you just think that's a Post-it note. And we have got 4 different categories. Whoops, sorry. 4 different categories of PMO director, PMO manager, PMO analyst, and PMO administrator. So that's basically to represent you. And what you can see on screen now is that there's already been an example put there, which is what development have you already done? So we want to try and understand from different types of roles that exist within PMO. We try to keep it simple by just having 4. So it's PMO director, PMO manager, PMO analyst, and PMO administrator, just to understand what it is that people have already done. So we thought that it might be really useful for you just to be able to understand what other types of training and development, not necessarily training courses, but development that people have done, which you could probably think, well, you know, interested, I've not done that, I might look into that a little bit more. And it doesn't have to be, and what you can see coming up right now is all the kind of accreditation type stuff. So we can see P3O. I'm just going to get rid of some of the P3O ones that are coming up. So we can see that they're more accreditation based, which is fine, which is all right. But it also is what kind of development have you done that might not necessarily be certificate based type training as well. Because what we're going to do later on when we've got some of these things in there is actually get into a session about, well, how useful have some of these things actually been, and how perhaps not useful some of the things might have been that you've spent your money on. So you can see some of the things that are coming up. Whoa. See some of the things that are coming up at the moment. Different kinds of things. You can see we've got quite a few PMO managers on here at the moment. We've got, if we just take off the director for a moment, you'll be able to see the PMO administrator role here, just tucked away on the side there. And we've got PMO analyst, PMO manager, and PMO director. So there's quite a lot. Just interesting just to see how many people in the PMO management space, how much stuff they've got compared to the other roles. Is it because we've got a lot of PMO managers on here, do you think? Not quite sure. So we've got, so what we're looking for is what development have you already done? And the next session, we'll be asking you a slightly different question. But anything you can see on here, John, that interests you? Eileen, what do you think?
I'm just having a look at it now. It's interesting that the ones that I did, the PMO director, there's as much business stuff on there. And it was interesting in terms of kind of scrum management at the PMO director level. I would expect that more down at the PMO manager level.
Quite interested to see some of the technical platform training, certainly in the analyst space, which I suppose you'd expect. So there's the introductions to SharePoint there, a lot of VBA and Excel, and of course Excel remains the PMO tool that's probably in use in probably more PMOs than any other, I suspect. Microsoft Project, but also SharePoint. I think we're increasingly hearing of PMO teams that are administering and taking control of SharePoint in organizations where you need to, certainly when you've got a portfolio environment where you need to have the structure of project teams and things like that set up. So I've seen in some organizations where the SharePoint expertise has almost sort of disappeared out of the IT support areas, and that gap has been plugged by PMO teams building up that knowledge as well.
Yeah, you can see that as you start to click on the love arts, it kind of starts to rank some of these things that have already been put in there as well. So you can see that that some people have, more people are doing some of these things than others. Let's just take a look at the other end of the scale here. So we've got the PMO analysts and the PMO administrator, some fun managers that are on here, looking at these, thinking about your team. Is there stuff on here that you are already doing with your team members? Again, it seems quite technical. It's a bit of coaching there. So what's quite interesting as well is that there's not much there in terms of personal kind of development. Yeah, I don't know if anybody's been looking at that kind of stuff at all. I mean, there's a lot of stuff.
There's one down for coaching in the analyst space there, but not many. That does seem to be further up, and it's an important skill to have in the PMO. There is this kind of I think if you're a PMO person going in to talk to a project team, you've got to almost kind of get over that initial that sort of generic perception that comes with you're here to police me or pick holes in things, and you've really got to win people over and get past that and help them understand that you're there to help them deliver more effectively and faster to the right level of quality for the organization, help them through and help them succeed. And I think some of those skills like the coaching, listening, negotiation skills, that all of those kind of things can really help with that, I think. So that's an interesting area.
Can I just go back to one of my points, which said 70-20-10? I see a whole load of 70% up there. Can I just rephrase the question in terms of kind of what's helped you do your job the most? If you think about your career in PMO and at what level you were at the time, and I'm sure the training courses helped. I would certainly hope they had. But what's really helped? So I've put a couple on there in terms of, kind of working closely with finance, gave me a much better understanding of what I needed to do around project costing, but also kind of down at the administrator level. And I know when I kind of first started, I was just kind of soaking up, just trying to get my head around, the whole project culture and how that felt. So there's a lot of just the social piece of actually just being in there kind of helps, how to approach people. So it'd be nice to see kind of some non-training courses in there.
I think we can start to come down a little bit more. There's a few other things there.
They're a bit more bespoke.
I think we're dredging the memories here. I think the obvious thing when you ask the question about what development people do is to focus on the badges.
Can I just ask them if somebody wants to unmute themselves?
Yeah, please.
And say kind of what they thought, what was the most helpful, what do they think has really kind of practically helped them? I think there's two. One is just kind of do the job they had to do at the time because they actually kind of learned stuff, or things that you felt really helped you get the next job you were after.
Hi, this is Gary Ireland.
Hi, Gary.
Hi.
Hi there. I think for me personally, I think as a PMO manager, I think the one thing that's really helped me develop as I've gone from role to role has been that experience. So just general experience of dealing with people on a day-to-day basis. Nothing formal, nothing I've sat in a classroom and been told. Getting back to your point from your earlier slides, Eileen, but it's just, I think you learn from other managers, other people around you, how you'd like to be treated yourself, and just incorporate that into the way you treat your people, and just try to develop your own style, but incorporating all the best bits and avoiding all the pitfalls that you've seen from managers over the time.
And it's a bit like, kind of watching children. They look at the behaviours, isn't it? It's not necessarily the kind of the knowledge and skills. It's about developing the right behaviours in the situations that we're working in and being able to, it's that kind of emotional intelligence, not just the intelligent quotients we have to.
Just to add to what Gary was saying just before, I think one of the key things that's helped me is I've worked in companies from tiny startups with 20 people to major multinationals with over 100,000 employees. So seeing how projects are executed and programs are executed in different environments and different cultures, what works well in different places. I mean, no two companies are the same, and seeing how things aren't done well in a lot of places becomes a very good barometer for how you actually set up your PMOs going forward.
Yeah. And I know when I moved to two jobs, I was a PMO manager, And I was the IT portfolio manager in one organisation. I'd kind of got into my head how PMOs worked. And then I actually made the choice not to get a PMO manager's job next time, but to work in a bigger PMO, but not take that management job. And it was interesting because I got lots of comments about, oh, are you kind of taking a step back and all of the rest of it? And I thought, well, actually, it's probably a bigger job. It was certainly better paid, but it was a bigger job, but it wasn't the manager's role. So I kind of lost the role of manager, but I did it because I knew I would get a lot more experience working in a very different organisation that was a completely different size and scale. So that kind of moving around, it's the thing kind of our parents were never kind of encouraged to do, but actually looking at the kind of the various jobs and looking about what experience am I going to get that's going to set me up for going future. And if you think about the current situation we're in, I mean, who was fully prepared? Right then, I'm just going to get my back pocket exactly how to behave in a pandemic. Yes, so the more experience you've had in lots of different organisations, you're generally more adaptive and being able to kind of flex your own skills and capabilities to the situation.